Good afternoon, everyone. I am Prerna Saha, along with my senior colleague, Dr. Shobha Agarwal from Engineers India Limited. We would be speaking on interventions in refining processes to manage emissions for CO2 reduction. Here is a brief presentation outline. Beginning with an overview of the global CO2 emissions, we will focus on the sources of CO2 emissions, moving to strategies, how to reduce them, and finally ending with our closing thoughts. A quick introduction on our company, Engineers India Limited. It's a technology-driven organization and our country's leading engineering services company. The services range from process design, engineering, project management, procurement, construction management, commissioning, etc. Now, very much relevant to today's topic of reducing carbon footprint in refineries, we would like to mention that EIL's technology development efforts are aimed at serving the hydrocarbon industry with environment-friendly and sustainable technologies, some of which are outlined in this slide. Now, beginning with the first one, the ammonia recovery from sour gases. It recovers ammonia from sour water stripper gases, and by removing the H2S stream is recycled back to SRU. Then there is CO2 capture from flue gases. It uses an amine-based solvent, and this chemically reacts with the dissolved CO2 present in the flue gases. We have the tail gas treating unit in our sulfur recovery unit, which ensures that the H2S, which is present in the hydrogenated gas, gets recovered, and ultimately a recovery of sulfur of 99.9% is achieved. Then we have the hot well off gas treatment, which removes the sulfur from the hot well off gases produced from the vacuum column. We also do low level heat recovery from streams like product rundowns, exhaust gases from various processes, which otherwise would get waste. And we use this low level heat recovery for power generation. We have carbonation process for neutralization of alkaline wastewater. This is done to overcome the operational difficulties like excessive acidification, corrosion, etc. And this process uses a carbon dioxide rich stream. Lastly, here we would like to mention spent caustic treatment. This handles the high sulfide concentrated feed, and overall conversion achieved at the outlet of the oxidation reactor is can be as high as 99.8%. Now, coming to the current global CO2 emissions from oil refineries today. The carbon in any fuel source ultimately ends up in the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide, as we all know, is the major pollutant, and it is recognized as the prime GHG, that is greenhouse gas. Now, our Earth has been dealing with increasing global temperatures that are poised to create havoc if the present rate of temperature rise continues unabated. Therefore, as per COP21, Conference of Parties Paris Agreement, a concerted effort is being adopted to reduce this global temperature rise to, say, 2 degrees Celsius from the pre-industry levels. More specifically, I would say targeting all efforts to limit the global temperature rise within 1.5 degrees Celsius. With our focus on oil refineries, a global inventory has revealed that in 2018, the CO2 emissions from oil refineries worldwide was 1.3 gigatons. Now, if all the existing refineries and the proposed new refineries operate as usual without adopting any mitigation measures, then ultimately this figure would land up to 16.5 gigatons from 2020 to 2030. Thus, it becomes very important that mitigation measures are in place so that we achieve some reduction, at least some reduction in this CO2 emissions. Now, what are the sources of CO2 in a refinery? Coming to the major sources, the number one, I would say, is the stationary combustion source, which is the process fired heater. And it is there in almost all the process units of a refinery, from CDU, DCU, NHT, etc. And then we have also the boilers in our CPP. In any process fired heater, we basically fire fuel oil or fuel gas in order to produce thermal energy, which heats the process fluid. Now, fuel oil or fuel gas is basically hydrocarbon. It contains carbon. Therefore, on burning, this will ultimately emit CO2. Now, therefore, CO2 is emitted from the fired heaters and the boilers. Now, another major source is the FCC catalyst regenerator. Now, this generates CO2 through the combustion of coke that is deposited on the catalyst particle during the cracking process. And lastly, we have the hydrogen generation unit. The hydrogen generation unit is part of almost all the refineries. Now, the most common method in the already installed hydrogen generation units today is the SMR process, which is steam methane reforming. In simple process, we know that in SMR, this methane and steam react together in order to produce carbon monoxide. And the carbon monoxide that is produced in the initial reaction would react more with the steam to produce more CO2. So thus hydrogen generation units, the conventional ones, the FCC catalyst regenerators and fired heaters and CPP, these are the major sources of CO2. Coming to the reduction strategies. Now, this slide represents the list for major reduction strategies. As we can see, we have energy efficiency improvement at the top. Then we have flow rate balancing, feed substitution, fuel substitution, hydrogen management, advanced technologies, using new generation catalysts, and lastly, the CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. Now, each one of these would be presented in the coming slides. To start with, first, the easiest option to adopt for any refinery is the fuel substitution. Now, as already mentioned earlier, we know that the emission of CO2 from a fuel obviously depends upon its carbon content. Now, commonly used fuels in the refinery are fuel oil, fuel gas. Now, these are fuel oil and fuel gas are basically byproducts of our refinery. The other option is using natural gas, which is generally procured by a refiner. Now, among these, if we go by the empirical values, if we burn 1 ton of fuel oil in a fired heater, it produces around approximately 3.5 tons of CO2. On the other hand, if we fire 1 ton of natural gas, it will produce 2.7, relatively lower value, 2.7 tons of CO2. Why? Because fuel oil has a lower hydrogen by carbon ratio, and it has a higher molecular weight. Basically, it has more carbon, so it produces more CO2. So switching the fuel system from liquid fuel oil to natural gas can thus be adopted by a refiner to reduce emissions. Next is flow rate balancing. Now, actually flow rate balancing is looking at optimizing of the operating capacities of the existing process units in a configuration scheme, which would lead to low CO2 emissions. Now, with the increase, we know as the days go by, there will be increase in the restriction on CO2 emission. So with this increase, the refinery operating configuration needs to be adjusted accordingly. The preference will obviously shift towards less energy intensive units. Using tools like linear programming, one can find the optimized operating capacity of the process units of a refinery that produce the least CO2 emissions on one hand, and on the other hand, it would also ensure that maximum profitability can be realized by the owner. Therefore, changing the refinery operating configuration can create some opportunities for less carbon emissions. Next, we would discuss hydrogen management. Now, as already mentioned, hydrogen produced by the conventional method ultimately means releasing more CO2 as a byproduct. Going by the empirical values, if we produce like every ton of hydrogen produced by SMR process means releasing approximately 9.5 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Thus, whenever we hydrotreat streams like petrol, like naphtha, diesel, VGO, we actually increase the total CO2 emissions from the refinery. Now, the impact of this increase in hydrogen cost encourages a refiner to look at optimizing, or rather, I would say re-optimizing their hydrogen balance. Doing hydrogen management will effectively hunt down the hydrogen which is present in our fuel system, which is actually always present in our fuel gases, and recover them for use in the refinery as a process stream. Now, this can be done by using PSAs, membranes, etc. Therefore, hydrogen recovery from fuel gas can be done to avoid that extra ton of hydrogen which you would otherwise produce in your conventional HU units. Now, also, I would like to divert your attention towards the table in this slide, where we have compared that if we have a furnace of the same duty, on one side, on one hand, if we fire it with fuel oil, then it produces around CO2 emitted will be 242 metric tons per day for a fired heater, which is having duty of 23 million kilocalories per hour. But when this same furnace is fired using hydrogen-rich fuel gas, then the CO2 emitted is 95 metric tons per day, which is around 40% less. So we can also look into the option of replacing our fuel oil with hydrogen-rich fuel gas for emitting CO2, for decreasing the emission of CO2. Sorry. Another option is feed substitution. Now, all emissions in the refinery actually originate from the crude. Now, the carbon that is found in the products, we say like gasoline, diesel, jet, will get released along with the products, and the remaining carbon will land up into the environment, will ultimately land up into the environment in the form of CO2. Now, making gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel products from very dense, high sulfur, modern Middle Eastern crudes require putting more of the crude barrel through aggressive carbon rejection and hydrogen addition processing. Now, this takes more energy. Burning more fuel means ultimately consuming more energy and releasing more refinery emissions. Therefore, crude substitution, that is substituting the crude with a low sulfur, with a low sulfur light crude is an option which is available to a refiner for an existing refinery. Now, energy efficiency improvement. By efficiency improvement, a refiner can actually prevent emissions from occurring in the first place, or reduce the level of emission if it is totally unavoidable. This slide lists some of the energy efficiency measures. Number one is improved operation and control. For example, routing of direct hot rundown of a stream, if feasible, from the source unit to the downstream unit without unnecessary cooling it, can enable us to use the surplus heat in the downstream unit. Next is improved heat recovery. Say, for example, often on investigation of a scheme, we see that there is significant amount of heat that is there in the reactor effluent. and it sometimes gets wasted, gets rejected to cooling water. So we could maybe recover this heat by adding new exchangers, then employing advanced catalysts, using advanced technologies for hydrotreating units can save some of the hydrogen consumption in these units. And also careful operation and monitoring can be practiced in refineries to reduce the losses through flaring. Now, EIL's experience in the area of large-scale energy efficiency improvements to studies could be leveraged to offer services in the area of, in this area, to prospective clients. The list of previously executed jobs by us is highlighted in this slide. As can be seen, this list consists of Indian clients, IOCL, HPCL, CPCL, NRL, as well as the international ones. Now, if we can say the price cost of refinery fuel is rupees 30,000 per ton, then in 1 annum we could actually save of amount of the order of 100 to 150 crore rupees for the refineries. So this gives the list for all the previously executed jobs by us in energy efficiency improvement. And this, as we improve on the energy efficiency, we know we can do savings for the annual savings in OPEX, as well as we can also cut down on our CO2 emissions. EIL also has the proud privilege to design most of the CDU-VDUs for our Indian refineries. Now, distillation, we know, is an energy intensive operation, and therefore it provides opportunities also for incremental innovations towards lowering the energy consumption in this unit and thereby reduce emissions. EIL has already gained success over the years by making a lot of improvement on the design of our crude and vacuum distillation units, along with equipment upgradation, which has significantly brought down the OPEX of this unit and also reduced the overall energy savings up to 25%. Now, some of the measures are listed in this slide, like reducing the pressure drop across the vacuum column, installing hybrid ejector configuration, then improving the efficiency of fired heaters, preheat train optimization, etc. Lastly, the CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. Now, this is an end of the pipe CCUS. Now, it is well accepted that CCUS can provide a significant reduction in carbon emissions, but I would say that multiple factors stand as roadblocks between easy implementation of CCUS on common refinery furnaces. For example, a standard refinery, say, has about 30 to 35 furnaces which are scattered across the entire plot plan of the refinery. And therefore, there is, in our refineries, usually there is no single point source of emission where we can actually plan the CCUS to be implemented. So these all need to be explored before implementation of CCUS. And also, I would like to mention that some of the technologies of CCUS, like oxy-fuel combustion, they actually advocate burning fuel in pure oxygen. And pure oxygen can be obtained by using an air separation unit. And air separation unit is a very energy intensive unit. So before adopting such technologies, a thorough review of total carbon footprint needs to be done for a particular refinery. Now, closing thoughts. So it would be, after this presentation, it would be very prudent to say that CO2 management in the refinery business, we all know, is going to be a very important issue given that petroleum refineries are one of the major CO2 emitters in the industrial sector. So for the reduction of CO2 emissions in the refineries, various strategies have been proposed here. But identifying the proper strategy for a particular refinery is very important, because each refinery is different from the other. It is different from the other in terms of its geographical location, its configuration, its crude basket, its product profile, and also its fuel recipe. So each refinery, one solution that fits one refinery may not be suitable for the other one. So concerted effort is imperative for reducing this chain of emissions for each refinery. So we would like to conclude saying that emissions, CO2 emissions need to be monitored, and know your options for carbon reduction emission, the best fit solution for your refinery, and immediate long-term planning needs to start now. We have to be prepared, like we have to be prepared before the law comes. Thank you.